I bet you $50,000 you can't make her fall for you in 30 days. 5 words that would destroy everything Ha-jun Kim thought he knew about himself. 5 words that turned a bored billionaire's stupid game into the most dangerous month of his life. Because here's what they don't tell you about making someone fall in love as a joke. Sometimes the player falls harder. And when she finds out, when Lena Hart discovers the truth, let's just say, hell hath no fury like a scholarship student scorned. The first time Ha-jun Kim actually noticed Lena Hart was at the coffee cart outside the business building at Ashford University. He'd walked past it hundreds of times. His professor that semester had 3 hedge funds, and Ha-jun had attended exactly twice, once to sign the enrollment sheet, once because Seo-jun dared him. The rest of his schedule was flexible. Wake up at noon in his off-campus penthouse, hold court at lunch where people laughed at his jokes whether they were funny or not, then cycle through parties or whatever event required his presence as the heir to Kim Pharmaceutical. Women approached him constantly. Men wanted to be his friend for the access. Professors gave him extensions without asking. Everything came easy. Everything came hollow. You have depression, his last girlfriend had told him before she left. Or you're a sociopath. Either way, I can't date someone who treats life like a movie he's bored of watching. She wasn't wrong. But the coffee cart. He'd never really looked at who was working it. What can I get you? Her voice was professional. Bored. The vocal equivalent of a firewall. Ha-jun looked up from his phone. She was pretty in that understated way people usually overlooked. Warm, brown skin. Full lips caught mid-chew on her pen cap. Black curls pulled into a messy bun. No makeup that Ha-jun could see. Zero jewelry except small gold hoops in her ears. She held herself like she was taking up exactly the minimum amount of space required. Coffee, he said. Brilliant deduction at a coffee cart. What kind? Oh, she had attitude. Ha-jun liked attitude. Surprise me. I'm not a magician. I'm a barista. Pick a drink. Americano. Black. Great choice. That'll be $4.50. He handed her his card, the black one, because he'd never owned a card that wasn't. Her eyes flicked to it. Something changed in her expression. Not impressed. The opposite. Disappointed? Of course, she muttered, running it through. Problem? Nope. No problem. Why would there be a problem? She handed the card back like it was contaminated. Your coffee will be ready in a minute, sir. The sir was absolutely mocking. Ha-jun stepped aside, fascinated. She made the Americano with efficient, practiced movements. No wasted energy. No small talk with him, though she smiled at the girl who ordered after him. A real smile, not the customer service one. Americano for... She looked at the cup where she'd written his name. Except she'd written, Entitled Trust Fund Bro, instead of Ha-jun. He laughed. Couldn't help it. That's not my name. Isn't it? She tilted her head. Could have sworn all you guys have the same name. And what's your name? Judgmental Barista? Lena. My name is Lena, and I'm not judgmental. I'm observant. Observations based on what? A credit card? Observations based on the fact that you handed me a card that requires a $250,000 annual spend minimum for a $4 coffee without blinking, while I... She stopped herself. Your coffee's ready. Have a great day. She turned to the next customer, dismissing him entirely. Ha-jun stood there, holding his overpriced coffee with the wrong name on it, completely captivated, because Lena Hart had just done something no one had done in years. She'd looked at him and been distinctly, obviously unimpressed, not playing hard to get, actually disinterested. He walked away smiling, for the first time in months. But before we get to the part where Hajun potentially gets destroyed by a 5 foot 4 inch woman with student loans and a killer right hook, smash that subscribe button. It's because if you love watching privileged idiots learn expensive life lessons, you're in the right place. Also, drop a comment telling me the worst bet you've ever made. Hajun's involves a girl, 30 days, and his entire soul. So yeah, you're probably fine. Now let's get into it. If Hajun Kim was bored with having everything, Lena Hart was exhausted from having nothing. Well, not nothing. That was dramatic. She had a full scholarship to the most prestigious business school in the country. She had 3 campus jobs that, combined, almost covered her living expenses. She had a 3.9 GPA and a 5-year plan that involved investment banking, aggressive saving, and eventually funding her mother's retirement. What she didn't have was time for billionaire boys with God complexes. "You're missing out," her roommate Sage said, and holding up 2 dresses. The Kappa mixer is supposed to be insane. They rented out an actual vineyard. "I have a microeconomics midterm. The midterm isn't until next week, which means I'm behind on studying." Sage threw both dresses at her. "You're a hermit. A beautiful young hermit who's wasting her college experience learning about, what is it this time? Price elasticity of demand. Sexy, really sexy." Sage flopped onto Lena's bed. "You know what's sexier? The rumor that Hajun Kim is going to be there." Lena didn't look up from her laptop. "Who? Who? Girl. Hajun Kim, as in Kim Pharmaceutical, as in his family literally manufactures half the drugs in your medicine cabinet, as in walking, talking, he's stupidly hot billionaire heir who, sounds exhausting, has never been seen with the same girl twice, and supposedly once flew to Paris for lunch. Definitely exhausting." "You're impossible." Sage grabbed her phone. "I'm showing you a picture, and you're going to understand why you're wrong." She pulled up Instagram and showed Lena a photo. Hajun Kim at some event. Sharp jaw, sharper suit. Dark hair, styled perfectly. The kind of smile that knew exactly how attractive it was. He had his arm around some model type, but he was looking at the camera like he owned it. Like he owned everything. "Okay," Lena admitted. "He's pretty." "Pretty? That's like calling the Mona Lisa fine." "He's also exactly the kind of guy who's never heard the word no in his life and probably thinks women are interchangeable accessories." "You got all that from one photo?" "I got all that from existing in the world." Lena closed her laptop. "Those guys don't see people like us. We're NPCs in their video game." Sage was quiet for a moment. "You know you're allowed to have fun, right? Like being poor doesn't mean you have to be miserable." "I'm not poor. I'm financially challenged. You ate ramen for 9 consecutive dinners. That was meal planning." After Sage left in a cloud of perfume and optimism, Lena opened her laptop again, but she also opened Instagram, scrolled to Hajun Kim's profile, looked at the photos of someone whose biggest problem was probably boredom, while her biggest problem was whether she could afford both textbooks and groceries this month. She opened a text to Sage, typed, "Okay, fine, he's stupidly attractive, and I hate it." Stared at the message for 10 seconds. Her thumb hovered over send. Then she deleted the whole thing, letter by letter, like erasing evidence. "Different worlds," she muttered, closing the app. Hajun went back to the coffee cart the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. Always ordered the same thing. Always got a different insulting name on the cup. Day 2, probably doesn't tip. Day 3, definitely never worked retail. Day 4, future divorced dad energy. Future divorced dad energy? Hajun read that one aloud. That's just hurtful. Is it inaccurate? Lena didn't look up from the espresso machine. I'm 22. How can I have divorced dad energy? It's a vibe. You have the vibe of someone who'll marry a woman you don't really know, have 2.5 kids you'll name after dead relatives, then realize at 45 that you've never actually been happy and start buying motorcycles about it. Hajun stared at her. She stared back. That's very specific. I observe people. It's a hobby. What else do you observe about me? That you've come here 4 days in a row, ordered the same drink, and never actually drink more than 2 sips of it. Damn. She was right. Maybe I like the ambiance, Hajun said. Of a coffee cart? Of the service? The service where I insult you? Especially that part. Her lips twitched, almost smiled. Didn't. Your Americano will be ready in a minute. Definitely overcompensating for something. That doesn't even fit on the cup. I used abbreviations. He watched her work, fascinated by how someone could be so entirely unbothered by him, by his name, his money, his face, all the things that usually open doors. To Lena Hart, he was just another customer, possibly an annoying one. It was the most refreshing interaction he'd had in years. Why do you work 3 jobs? He asked while she made his drink. Her hands paused. Excuse me. Most students here don't work at all. Most students here have parents who think budgeting means choosing between the Maserati and the Tesla. She handed him the coffee. Some of us are on scholarship and actually have to, pay for things like food and rent, not an existence. That sounds exhausting. It is, but it's also none of your business. She looked past him. Next. Hajun had been dismissed again, and he was completely inappropriately charmed. The next day, she called you entitled trust fund, bro. Seojin was dying laughing. On the coffee cup, they were in Seojin's dorm room. Stupidly expensive gaming chair. Whiskey for no good reason. A Tuesday afternoon wasted like all their afternoons. Seojin Chen was the only person who tolerated Hajun, mostly because he was exactly as spoiled and useless. They'd bonded freshman year over mutual disdain for people who summer as a verb and their shared ability to expense literally anything to their parents' accountants. She's interesting, Hajun said. She's rude. Same thing. You've been going to the coffee cart every day for a week. You, Hajun Kim, who has an espresso machine in your penthouse. I like the coffee. You like her. Seojin's eyes lit up. That grin. The one that was always a harbinger of bad decisions. Then let's make it interesting. He leaned forward. $50,000. Make Lena Hart fall for you in 30 days. Genuine feelings. The kind that make people write poetry and act stupid. That's sociopathic. It's a good investment in your personal development. You've been dead inside since orientation. She's the first thing that's made you actually want something. Think of it as motivation. Motivation to manipulate someone's feelings. Motivation to stop being boring. Seojin shrugged. Besides, you're already going back every day. And all I'm doing is adding stakes. This is fun. This is exciting. When's the last time anything was exciting? Hajun should recognize this for what it was. A stupid juvenile game that treated a real person's feelings like chips on a table. But he was so goddamn bored, and she looked so completely unimpressed with the world he existed in. He shook Seojin's hand. 30 days, Hajun agreed. How hard could it be? It would be very hard. The first week, Hajun showed up at the bookstore, where Lena worked Saturdays. Are you stalking me? I need a book. You've never read a book for pleasure in your life. Recommend one. She pulled down a worn paperback. The Alchemist. It's about finding your purpose. You need it. Harsh. He bought the book. Read it in one sitting. Showed up Monday with notes in the margins. You actually read it? She looked genuinely stunned. You told me to. And you just do what I tell you. When it's you? Apparently. Her cheeks flushed. She pretended to be interested in the espresso machine. Day 7. She had a midterm. Hajun waited outside the testing hall with her favorite coffee. Extra vanilla, the way she made it when she thought no one was looking, and a chocolate croissant. How did you know I was nervous about this? You've been highlighting the same chapter for 3 days. You only do that when you're anxious. You're observant. You taught me that. Coffee cart cups, remember? She laughed. Future divorced dad energy still stands, by the way. I'm working on it. That evening, she texted him, I think I aced it. Thanks for the croissant and for noticing. Day 8. He asked her to coffee. One off campus. She said 30 minutes. Jade's Coffee, 2 blocks from campus. Don't be late. Jade's was the opposite of every place Hajun usually went. No minimalist interior design. No menu with words like artisanal and locally sourced. Just mismatched furniture, a chalkboard menu with actual prices, and the smell of coffee that came from machines, not pour-over ceremonies. He loved it immediately. Tell me something real, she said, once they'd settled in with drinks. Not surface level, something that actually matters to you. No one had asked him that in ever. I'm not sure I know how to answer that, Hajun admitted. See, that right there. That's the saddest thing I've heard all week. It's only Tuesday. Still sad. They talked for 2 hours. She told him about her mom, a nurse who worked double shifts, about growing up in a small apartment where the heat didn't always work, about being the first person in her family to go to college and the pressure that came with it. He told her about his father, who he'd maybe had 10 real conversations with, about being groomed for a company he didn't care about how he'd never had to work for anything, and how that somehow made everything feel worthless. Poor little rich boy, she teased, but it was gentle. I know, I'm insufferable. You're not, actually, which is disappointing because I wanted to hate you. Why? Because it's easier. People like you usually make it easy. And I'm not? She smiled into her coffee. Jury's still out. Walking back toward campus, he asked, same time next week? This doesn't mean we're friends. But she was smiling when she said it. Seojun texted that night. Update on the investment? Hajun stared at the message, then at Lena's text about the croissant. Going great, he typed back. She's warming up. Told you, easy money, Seojun replied. It didn't feel easy. It didn't feel like money. But Hajun told himself it was fine. Week 2, day 10. Lena mentioned she'd never been to the nice part of the city. Too expensive, no point. Hajun borrowed a friend's Honda. His Porsche felt wrong somehow and picked her up. Where are we going? The art museum. Free admission on Tuesdays. You brought me to a museum? You said you've never been, and it's free, so you can't accuse me of flexing. She looked at him like he was a puzzle she couldn't solve. They spent 3 hours wandering galleries. She loved the Impressionists. They stood in front of a Monet for 15 minutes, studying the brushstrokes, the way she studied everything. With her whole body leaned in, her breath going quiet, her fingers almost reaching toward the canvas before pulling back. It's chaos up close, she said softly. Just random brushstrokes, messy and scattered, but from far away, it's beautiful. Order from disorder. Like economics? Like life. like everything that seems broken, until you get enough distance to see the pattern. She turned to him, and her eyes were doing something he'd never seen. Open, unguarded, like she'd forgotten to keep her walls up. That's what I love about numbers. Up close, they're just digits. But step back, and they tell you the whole story of how people live, what they value, what they're afraid of. Hajun watched her, instead of the paintings. What? She asked, catching him. Nothing, just, you should talk about things you love more often. That's dangerously close to a compliment. Take it up with management, she laughed. That real laugh she tried to hide behind her hand. You know, when I was a kid, my mum and I would have fancy nights. We'd use the nice plates, and she'd make spaghetti, and we'd pretend we were at a five-star restaurant. I used to think that was just fun. I didn't realize until I was older that she did it because we couldn't afford to go anywhere. That sounds... It was beautiful and sad at the same time. Like that painting. She nodded toward the Monet. Chaos that looks like beauty if you love someone enough to rearrange it. They stayed until the museum closed. He drove her home in silence, not because they had nothing to say, but because anything he said would break something fragile. Day 12. She invited him to study with her. Actually invited him. They sat in the library, supposedly working. Mostly Hajun watched her create elaborate color-coded notes and eat an entire bag of Skittles, organized by color. You're staring again. You're eating Skittles by color. They taste different. They absolutely don't. Red is obviously the best. Yellow, objectively. Your taste is terrible. Says the person who organized her bookshelf by color instead of genre. It's aesthetic. The librarian shushed them. They laughed into their hands like kids. Day 14. Halfway point. Lena brought him coffee this time. I can't accept this without knowing what insulting name you gave me, Hajun said. She showed him the cup. Growing on me. Unfortunately. That's almost nice. Don't let it go to your head. Too late. That night, Seojun called. Status report. You're at the halfway mark. She brought me coffee today. Perfect. She likes you. You're winning. This might be the easiest 50 grand I've ever spent. Yeah. You don't sound like you're winning. I'm fine. It's going exactly as planned. Good. Stay focused. Hajun hung up and looked at the cup, with growing on me, unfortunately, written on it in Lena's handwriting. He kept it on his nightstand. He shouldn't have kept it. What happens when the walls come down? When Hajun realizes the bet doesn't matter anymore? And what does Seojun do when he figures out his friend might actually be in love? And trust me, you're going to need tissues. And don't forget to subscribe. The third week, day 15. Everything shifted. They were at Jade's, their place now somehow, and Lena was telling him more about her childhood. My mum is 53, and her back is destroyed from years of lifting patients. She should be retiring, not picking up extra shifts. She looked at him directly. So, yeah, I work hard, because someone has to. Hajun reached across the table, took her hand. She didn't pull away. You're also allowed to want things for yourself, he said quietly. It's not selfish to have dreams. Says the guy who has everything. I don't have everything. He squeezed her hand. I don't have whatever it is that makes you light up when you talk about economics, or the relationship you have with your mom, or the ability to find joy in spaghetti on nice plates. She was quiet for a long moment, still holding his hand. Hajun, why are you really doing this? Spending time with me, the coffee, the museum, all of it. What do you want? Tell her. Tell her about the bet. End this before it goes too far. I like you, he said instead. Is that allowed? People like you don't like people like me. What if I'm not like other people like me? Then you'd be the first. She was still holding his hand. Day 17. Seojun ran into them. At a campus party Hajun had dragged Lena to. She'd only agreed because they had free food. So you're the famous Lena, Seojun said, grinning. Hajun's stomach dropped. Famous? Hajun talks about you. It's entertaining. He's like a whole different person. Seojun looked at Hajun and clapped his shoulder. Ah, in a good way. This is fun, right? Good times all around. Hajun pulled him aside. What are you doing? Relax. I'm being supportive. She seems great. Don't talk to her. Don't interact with her. Don't even look at her. Why? Everything's going well. You're ahead of schedule. She's clearly into you. Seojun's grin widened. You're fine. You're winning. Hajun looked back at Lena, who was laughing at something someone had said, the kind of laugh she usually hid. He wasn't fine. He wasn't winning. He was falling. Day 19. She stayed over at his apartment. She'd missed the last bus, and he offered his couch. She walked into his off-campus penthouse and stopped. This is where you live. Yes? Hajun, this is a penthouse. You have floor-to-ceiling windows. Is that a Warhol? It's a print. It's an original, and I wrote a paper on Warhol. She turned to him slowly. How much money does your family actually have? Does it matter? She studied his face, looking for lies, and Hajun thought, she's looking for lies, and she's right to, because I'm lying. I've been lying since day one. The couch is there, he said quietly. We can talk about this in the morning. In the morning, she was gone. Left a note. Thanks for the couch. I need to think. Day 20. She didn't answer his texts. Day 21. Still nothing. Day 22. He found her at the library. I'm not mad about the money, she said before he could speak. I'm mad that you don't trust me. Thought we're supposed to be friends. I know, I'm sorry. Are you? I'm sorry I made you feel like I was hiding something. You're right. I should have told you. She closed her laptop. Why didn't you? Because everyone I've ever met sees the money first and me second, if they see me at all. And you saw me. Just me. I didn't want to lose that. So, you lied. I omitted. Same thing. She was right. Be honest, she said, going forward, about everything. Okay. Everything, Hajun. This was the point he should tell her about the bet, or give her a subtle hint, but he didn't. Everything, he agreed, and hated himself. The fourth week, day 23, they fell back into rhythm. Better than before, she'd decided to trust him, and that trust felt like something Hajun didn't deserve, because it wasn't earned, it was stolen, and he knew the difference, even if she didn't. They studied together, had coffee at Jade's. She started texting him goodnight every night. And every night, Hajun stared at the message and thought about the bet, like a man staring at a fire he'd set and couldn't put out. Day 25. She kissed him first. They were in the library, their usual spot, and she'd just finished a paper, closed her laptop with a triumphant slam. Done. Finally done. Congratulations. How do you want to celebrate? She kissed him, just leaned across the table and pressed her lips to his, soft and quick and perfect, then pulled back, eyes wide. Sorry, I don't know why I did that. I do, Hajun said, and kissed her again. Longer, this time, her hand in his hair, his hand on her face. When they broke apart, she was smiling. So we're doing this? She asked. If you want to. I want to. Even though you're rich and ridiculous and probably going to break my heart. I won't. He would. As day 28. Seojun texted. Clock's ticking. Status. She kissed me, Hajun typed. then deleted it. Typed instead, I need to call it off. Call what off? The bet. I want to end it. Forget it ever happened. You already won, technically. She's obviously got feelings. I'll Venmo you the 50 grand right now. I don't want the money. I want to forget it. Lol, okay, done. Consider it forgotten. You keep the girl, I keep the money. Everybody wins. Seojin treated it like cancelling a dinner reservation. Like Lena's feelings were a line item on a budget he'd already moved past. That casual, careless ease. That was who Seojin was. Not malicious, just someone who'd never had to think about the weight of what he threw around. Day 29, Hajun tried to tell her. They were at Jade's. She was happy, talking about her mom's birthday coming up. Lena, I need to tell you something. Okay, this is it. Tell her about the bet. Come clean. I think I'm falling in love with you. Her eyes widened, then softened. I'm falling for you too, she said quietly, which is terrifying because you're you and I'm me. And this seems like a disaster waiting to happen, but yeah, I'm falling. He kissed her. Should have felt like victory. Felt like betrayal. On day 30, Seojin told her. Not out of wisdom. Not because he thought she deserved to know. Because he was drunk at a party and thought it was a funny story. Yeah, the whole thing started as a bet, he'd told someone, laughing. 50 grand to make the scholarship girl fall for him. Hajun was bored, I was bored, you know how it goes. And best investment I ever didn't have to pay out. He didn't know Lena's roommate Sage was standing 3 feet away. Sage told Lena. Hajun found her at the coffee cart the next morning. One look at her face, and he knew. Is it true? Lena, is it true? People were staring. Hajun pulled her aside, away from the cart, away from the crowd, to the bench behind the business building, where no one went. It started as a bet, he said, because there was nothing else to say. But it stopped being that, almost immediately. Everything I felt. Stop. Her voice was low, controlled, worse than shouting. She sat down on the bench, stood up, sat down again, like her body couldn't decide whether to flee or fight. I want to understand something, she said. The museum. You took me to the museum. Yes. I stood in front of that Monet and talked about order from disorder, about my mum's fancy nights, about chaos that looks like beauty if you love someone enough to rearrange it. Her voice cracked on the word love. And I actually thought that you were someone who got it, someone who saw the world the way I did. And the whole time, you were what? Tallying points? Texting Seojin updates? No, that's not the book. She was standing now, pacing. The Alchemist? You showed up with notes in the margins. I thought you'd never cared about a book before in your life, and you did it because I asked you to. Was that strategy? Read what the scholarship girl likes, so she thinks you care? I did care. I do care. When you held my hand at Jade's and told me I was allowed to have dreams. Was that in the playbook? Was there a checklist? Step 4, say something vulnerable so the target opens up. You were never a target. You were never... Then what was I? She stopped pacing, faced him. Because you and your friend sat in a room and decided that my feelings, my actual feelings, were worth $50,000. Not even a lot of money to you. You could lose 50 grand in a couch cushion, and that's what my heart was worth. Hajun opened his mouth. Nothing came out. I told you about my mom, Lena said, and her voice broke fully now, not elegant crying, not cinematic, the kind where your face collapses because the grief is physical. About the fancy plates, about choosing between textbooks and groceries. I gave you the realest parts of me, parts I don't give anyone. And the whole time, It started as a game. It stopped being a game, Lena. I swear it stopped. How am I supposed to know that? She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. How do I separate what was real from what was performance? You're good at this. You're good at making people feel seen. But maybe that's all it ever was. A skill. A rich boy who learned to perform sincerity because he was bored and needed entertainment. That landed because she might be right. And the fact that she might be right was the worst thing Hajun had ever felt. I'm so sorry, he said. I know that doesn't fix. It doesn't fix anything. Sorry doesn't undo the last month. And sorry doesn't change that I stood in front of a Monet and let you see me, really see me, while you were running a con. It wasn't a con, not after that first coffee, not after I actually got to know you. But before that, it was. The beginning was a lie. And you can't build something real on a foundation that's rotten. She wiped her eyes again, straightened her spine, put her walls back up, brick by brick, while he watched. Stay away from me, she said. Don't come to the coffee cart. Don't show up at the library. Don't text me. We're done. She paused. We were never really started. She walked away. He let her go. Because what could he say? She was right about all of it. The beginning was a lie. And no amount of real feelings could unpoison the well he'd polluted on day one.